Hi there, this is a run through of the process by which you can enter the online Trek League during the winter. So once you've registered with the online Trek Club and you've registered for the whole winter for the league, which is the best option, you can enter individual months or you can sign up for the whole league. If you sign up for the whole league, you will just automatically receive your tests each month via email. So what you will do is you will receive your test each month, and this is what your email will look like. It will come in and you'll have an attachment that you need to go into and open. At the top, the information stands quite clearly. You've got here the date, the month, so you need to check that you've got the right month that you're doing, and the size of the arena. It needs to be 20 metres by 40 metres, and you should always video from A. This is all very clear on your test sheet. It's a bit like a dressage test. You have individual movements and each is marked out of 10. It's the same as when you do the PTV with a normal Trek competition. Each is very clearly laid out how it must be done. If it is made clear which direction you need to come into an obstacle, then that is what you must do. If there is information that the direction you must go between obstacles, then that is also given. If it is not given, then you can make your way between obstacles as you wish. You have here 10 movements and you will receive a PTV mark out of 100. Then your MA, walk and canter are given separately on the sheet here as well. What I do is I find it really useful to take a screenshot of how the test is laid out in the arena, so when I'm walking around putting my test down on the ground, I can refer to exactly where the poles need to be. So here exactly, the middle needs to be between F and K and the centre needs to be at D. The same with the bending poles. That's quite a tricky one to get them so that they don't hit in the middle where you need to be going down a centre line or you need to be going across a middle line. So it takes a little bit of jigging sometimes to fit the bending poles in if they're on a diagonal line, but it's possible. It's not a problem. On your second page you will find information about each of the obstacles and how you must lay them out. So for example, for the club league, the corridor was 1 metre in width and 3 metres in length. The bending in this test were 5 bending cones and they must be 6 metres apart, and the S-bend here 1 metre width, 4 metre length. It's written very clearly everything you must do. Here figure of 8 must be ridden one-handed. You must start between B and X. It's all very clear. If, however, you do have any questions, just email the Trek Club email, and they are very quick and very helpful in replying to your questions. So that's just what you'll receive when you each month once you've signed up. Then we'll go further into what you need to do, how you need to lay it out, and how you go about recording. So videos can be taken on phones or iPads or with a little camera. It doesn't. You don't need a special video camera to take the tests. But what I would say is just make sure that when you start recording the test, you have the test. You have your camera already in landscape position. Otherwise, you're going to be struggling if you then turned it to landscape from a portrait. Then your orientation will change halfway through, and the poor judge is going to have to turn ahead. Also, make sure it's up the right way round. When you go into your settings, just make sure, I've got an iPhone, and not everybody will have an iPhone, but in your camera, make sure you go into the settings and go and check in your camera that your settings are to record the video as good as possible. So here I've got record video, and I've got mine set at 180p HD at 60 seconds. Do not have the top one because you will have a very low quality video when you take it. The second one could be possible, but I just opt for the best quality. So if you use that, there is no reason why your phone recording shouldn't be good enough and clear enough. Make sure you zoom in. You will lose a little bit of quality when you zoom in and out on your test, but as long as you check that your camera is set to the best quality possible first before you even start, then you give yourself the best chance of having a really good quality video to send in. So a couple of pointers for recording your MA. Always record from A and always ensure that your horse is fully viewable on the screen. All legs, your head, everything included. The judge must be able to see that the horse did not break into trot from walk or into trot from canter during your completing of this section. Always ensure that the recording starts a few seconds before you pass the mark at which you're starting, here at C. You can choose which direction around the arena you go. You can choose your horse's better side in the canter. If your horse is more balanced in one way or the other, that is your option, which is great. You must make sure you always go into the corners of the arena. This way you get your full 100 metres MA loop. You see here that my horse was bringing her quarters into the arena. On my comments sheet I got comments to say please be careful next time, although there was no marks deducted this time. It's something to bear in mind that in a real trek competition she might have been outside the white lines. Here you see I've brought the horse back to trot, back to walk, and I've just looped round and now I'm going the opposite way around the arena. Again, make sure you stay well into the corners and make sure the horse is viewable at all times in the whole screen. You can zoom in a little bit to the far end of the arena because otherwise your horse is only viewable as a tiny dot. So just make it easy for the judge by having your horse a decent size within the screen viewable. You could use cones in the corner if your horse is less inclined to move into the corners, to make sure you go round the cones and keep your distance and keep the full length. I'm just going to move the video fast onto the end. I wish my horse went this fast in the MA, I might get some points. Anyway, you get past here and make sure your video continues to record just past C so that the judge knows that you have fully completed your loop. You must record your MA, your walk and your canter parts in the same video. A few pointers for recording your PTV now. The same as your MA, you must record from A, video in landscape, and make sure you start the recording a few seconds before you enter the test. For the first movement here in this test, you will see it's a release of the reins. If you have this movement in your test, please make sure it is clear when you release the reins. The judge can only judge what they see in your video. They cannot see anything else. They weren't there with you on the day to know exactly at what point you did it, so please make it nice and clear for them. For obstacles at the far end of the arena, please ask your videographer to zoom in if possible. This way your judge will be able to view your test as well as possible. Here, this is the rein back, and you'll see my horse was slightly crooked. She stayed within the lines, but she could have improved her straightness. This is the kind of comment that you get given on your test sheet along with your scores. In between obstacles, there is no set speed, there is no time limit, therefore you can take your time. It's not a large arena and there's no large distances between the obstacles. You will see here I'm walking between most of them unless I want to do an obstacle in canter. Here we have the S-bend. Make sure, especially for these kind of obstacles where there is something on the ground that could be moved should your horse not manage to do the movement as perfectly as possible, make sure the videographer has zoomed in as much as possible on the obstacle. The next obstacle we have is under the low-hanging branches. You'll see here that I've staked out 6 poles. This is more to help me guide me through the obstacle. As long as you stake out the beginning and the end, that's absolutely fine. When I stake out, I mean mark out. You can use whatever markers you wish. Here between these 2 obstacles I cantered because I wanted to canter between the narrow path. You will see in this obstacle that I only just put my hands out, like literally 1 second before going between the buckets. In the Trek obstacles there is no markers, there's no red and white markers marking exactly the moment that your obstacle starts and finishes. However, it is expected that you must start the movement properly before you enter the obstacle. So in this case, I got a comment saying I should make sure in future that I move my arm out a little sooner to make sure that the judge is clear exactly that I have done that before moving into the obstacle. Some obstacles get used twice within a test. So here for the S-bend, we did this S-bend in both directions, which is always good practice for the pony. And we did over the low-hanging branches twice as well in this test. Every month the tests are different. You don't need any majorly special equipment to do the test. Here the next obstacle is a lead obstacle. So in the standard tests you will have a mix of lead and ridden obstacles. If you have any lead obstacles, please make sure that your stirrups are safe, either over the saddle or run up. If you're using a martingale, you may not use the reins with the martingale attached, so you either need to move the martingale off the reins, as I am doing here, or you can use an attachment to the noseband, or you could maybe have a head collar underneath your bridle and use that. It's all good practice, I find, because it's one of my biggest time taker-uppers on my course is messing around with my reins and my ropes. So I think I need to practice this a lot more. This is a lead obstacle, which is over the pretend ditch. You'll see I had maybe a little bit too much contact on my reins for this. Again, it's a comment that I attained when I saw my test sheet back, so I've learnt all these things from. It's really good actually when you get your tests back to watch the video through and look at the test marks that you get, and you'll quite often say, oh, of course, yes, I remember that now. At the time you'll have thought you did it perfectly, and then when you watch it with the marks, it's a really good learning exercise. My pony was only 5 last year, and this was all completely new to her before we did our first Trek season. So I used it as a really, really good learning experience. Make sure that you run, again, a few seconds past the last obstacle. The last obstacle in this test was the mount from the mounting block. As I mentioned before, you don't need any really very special equipment. You'll see here that I've used electric fence posts to mark out my low-hanging branches. I use electric fence posts as my bending markers as well, but you could use buckets or cones. Again, I've used buckets for my figure of 8 marking out, and I've used a beer crate for my mounting block. What you will need to do is have correctly measured poles or something similar for your narrow walk-through and your rein back. I used standard jump poles, which just happened to be 3 metres in length when I put two next to each other, end on end. For the S-bend, I actually went out and bought a few little bits of wood just to be able to cut them to exactly the right length. You'll have seen in the other video that your S-bend should be marked out to be 4 metres in length and 1 metre in width. I found it much easier if I had the correct pieces of wood, but we're talking like €10, something like that, to get all the pieces of wood. It was not a big investment, and then I've been able to use them all year to practice on. So that was a little video of your PTV, so I hope that helped. Did your MA and your PTV videos, now is the time to send them to Trek Riders Club. You'll find they're far too big to be sent direct by email. Even if you just use a mobile phone on decent quality, you'll find your files are about 500 megabytes, which is too big to send by email. So you have 2 options. One is to send via WeTransfer, and the second is to send and upload via YouTube. For the purposes of WeTransfer, it's completely free. If you Google WeTransfer and then follow the links to the free option, you'll find that. For YouTube, I'm just going to run you briefly through how to do that. That's my preferred option. Google YouTube, follow the link. And what you'll find is hit up here on the top right hand corner, you can create a video or a post. And if you click through onto that, you will see that you can upload. I actually have my own account. Again, I'm not going to show you how to do that, but if you Google how to create your own account, that's not difficult at all. Again, you have exactly, you can see here I have all of my videos. You can see my PTV, MA videos down here. Again, it's exactly the same thing that you have to do though. You create a video post, you click on this little icon here up on the top right with a plus, upload video, and then what you need to do is go in, select your video. I'm on Apple, and I'm just going to go and get a December one just to show you. So what you will see here is it will start to upload. It will give you a time up here. Mine just flicked up and said it's nearly 3 hours to upload. I'm on very, very slow Wi-Fi broadband. We don't have anything in the middle of nowhere, so yours might be a lot quicker than mine is, but that's why I never leave mine till the last minute, because I know it's going to take me at least 3 hours to upload it. Once you've uploaded, what you will be given is a link. I will show you that in a minute when this is complete. But what you do need to make sure is that inside this section here where I've got Christmas Trek, it's brought through the title of the video. But what you need to do in there is make sure you've got your name, your horse's name, and the class and the month that you have entered. Once you get to the end, you'll be able to publish it, and I will show you that in a little bit. See this come up, processing done, and your top right button on your YouTube upload will be turned blue, allowing you to publish. Here I've just inputted the information I suggest you put on it. Then all you need to do is click publish. As you click this, it will then be uploaded onto the YouTube website, and you will be given a link. What you need to do is highlight this link and copy it and place it into an email, and that's the link that you need to send to Trek Riders Club for your images to be judged. So a couple of days after the closing date of each month, you will receive an email back with your score sheet in, which is always a nice thing to receive. For my email, I have 2 riders coming into one email, which is why I have 2 score sheets. So you will just open up your skills sheet, and there you will have the same test that you completed, but this time you will see scores and you will see comments within the test. Comments will be positive, comments will be helpful, explanations given as to the scores you get, so that you can learn and improve on each test. Your top half you will see the PTV scores, then you will see the MA scores below, and then in the bottom there's a little box which they add nice comments as well about the general improvement from test to test each month. It's a really nice thing to go do, and I always find it really useful to take this test, take these comments and go and look back at my video and see how I could have improved, and see how the judges' comments refer to my actual video.